The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to An Open Door on the Arts. My name is Barb Richer, and I get to be your host as we travel throughout the Capital Region and beyond, visiting the artists that enrich our lives. And there are so many of them. We are so fortunate to live in the Capital Region. Today, we are taking just a short trip up the Northway to Saratoga Springs, the most beautiful place in the summer to go. And our very special arts program up there is Opera Saratoga. You may not know that it used to be Lake George Opera, but you're going to learn all about that today with our very special guest, Lawrence Edelson. I'll be calling him Larry. He is the new artistic and general director of Opera Saratoga, and he'll tell us the beginnings and the ends of everything we need to know about this great happening this summer. So, Lawrence, welcome to An Open Door on the Arts.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
This is very exciting for us.
Well, it's exciting to be here, and we're launching into a very busy time of year for us with the summer festival. So,
well, I know that you are, and you have a great many good things planned. For some of us, and I was one of them up until a couple weeks ago. Maybe you can just explain a little bit of the history of Opera Saratoga.
Sure.
Because I now know it used to be Lake George Opera.
Of course. Well, Lake George Opera was founded in 1962 by Fred Patrick, and it used to be in Lake George area, and for many years was in Queensbury. We have been in Saratoga Springs for many years at the Spa Little Theater in Spa State Park, a beautiful location.
Isn't that a wonderful little theater?
Well, it's a fantastic theater, very intimate, under 500 seats, and a really special place to see live opera. The company the name was kept as Lake George Opera for many years, even though we had moved to Saratoga Springs. But the company's 50th anniversary in 2011, the decision was made to change the name to Opera Saratoga formally.
I think that's what confused some people, and
Absolutely.
I knew that it confused me. When exactly did that happen? And I was surprised that you had been performing for so long already in Saratoga.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because when I just moved to the region this past year, and a number of people who live in Saratoga Springs don't realize there's a professional opera company there.
I know.
And so I'm glad I'm here to be able to talk about it. Part of my job is to make sure that we build awareness about the fantastic treasure we have in our own backyard.
Well, when I came up to see for myself exactly where you were and met with one of the folks who could not have been more enthusiastic about the whole change, certainly yourself included, but the wonderful, wonderful Spa Theater that you're performing in. And I really felt his enthusiasm and the excitement that was growing in the whole area of the Spa Little Theater, knowing that the opera was getting ready to start. But actually, you've been happening for a while.
We do a lot during the year, and I think this is something that a lot of people don't realize, but we're trying to, again, build awareness of. The summer festival is the culmination of everything we do year-round, but Opera Saratoga is much more than just a summer festival. One of our flagship programs for many years has been Opera to Go, which is an educational tour where we have a group of young professional singers out in the schools performing operas. And this program serves over 20,000 children in the region.
That's phenomenal.
It's really incredible. And in this day and age where sort of the default form of entertainment for kids is the internet or their little devices,
exactly.
To be able to visit the schools and to provide them with an experience where they're really up close and personal with artists and seeing live opera, it's a really thrilling experience.
When do you start going into the schools? What time frame?
That typically happens in February, March, and the exact timing changes from year to year. This past year, it was a performance of a version of The Three Little Pigs using music by Mozart.
Oh my gosh.
Next year, we're doing a new piece that we haven't done before. I can't talk exactly about it yet, but we're really excited about it. It's a piece that deals with bullying and a piece that empowers kids to find their own passions and strengths. So we're really excited.
So
by
relevant.
That.
So in the guise of of amazing art, you're also able to keep it really relevant for where the kids are.
Well, absolutely, and I think that's something that all operas, or the majority of operas, have relevance.
Yes.
The stories
Yeah.
are timeless, whether it's something from the 1700s, 1800s, or a new opera today. But the stuff that we do for kids in particular, we wanted to speak to them on their own terms in a very immediate way, and that's what we're doing with the program.
That's wonderful. And that was one of the surprises that I had. And there were others. There are other, I call it outreach, but you corrected that to me. You had a very wonderful way of saying that you're not really just outreaching to the community. You're existing within the community. You're a part of the community, and that's what you'd like to stay being.
I think that's really important. A lot of people, when I first came to the company, I asked a lot of people, why does Opera Saratoga exist? And the most common answer was some version of to produce opera. And I argue that's actually not the real answer. What we do is produce opera, but why we exist is to serve the community. And I think that if we frame all of our activities through that lens, it gives us a different perspective. And Opera Saratoga is not just about being in the Spa Little Theater during the summer. Opera Saratoga is this incredible treasure in the region that provides a wide variety of programs to audiences of all ages, and not just fully staged opera productions, although those are thrilling and wonderful, and we look forward to presenting those this summer. We launched a new program to sort of reinforce that this year called Saratoga Sings. And that is a program which I developed with my team to really take advantage of some of the assets we have in the region. When I moved here, I really fell in love with Saratoga and the Capital Region because there's so much here. There are so many beautiful things just in natural assets, historic assets, artistic assets, and we're bringing live opera performances to unexpected locations throughout the region. And this past year, for example, we did a program with partnership with the New York State Military Museum that had to do with the world premiere that we're doing this summer of The Long Walk. And the audience that we got out to this event was so much different than what one might expect for a typical opera audience.
Right.
We had veterans, of course. We had high school students, some of our existing audience, people that weren't just from Saratoga Springs as well. And so we're going to be doing more and more of these programs in the year to come.
That's wonderful. That's another part of being relevant in your community.
Absolutely.
And the fact that it's a professional opera company that we have here, that we may sometimes not realize what good fortune we have to have you existing right here and now being a part of our community. That's wonderful. There's something also called Opera to Go.
Well, Opera to Go is the educational tour I was just talking about.
Okay.
That's the name of the school tour.
That's the overall school tour. And there's a writer's workshop.
So the writer's workshop is something we're doing this summer, again in tandem with the world premiere, which we'll talk about in a little more detail, I assume, later. The premiere we're doing is based on a book, a memoir by Brian Kastner. It's a book called The Long Walk, and it is his story of returning from combat overseas. He worked as an explosive ordnance disposal man and defusing bombs, essentially. And when he came back, he was dealing with something that he called the crazy. And the book is about his trying to gain some sense of normalcy in his life, reintegrating with his wife and his children. Very powerful book, which has been turned into quite an extraordinary opera. But the book itself, Brian is an amazing writer, something that I don't think he ever would have thought he was going to be when he was entering the military,
Into the military.
And he has started to do a lot of writing workshops with an organization called Words After War. And so we're actually partnering with Words After War, and through a grant from Opera America, the Opera Fund, are providing a workshop. And this is actually a free workshop that is open to current military or veterans or even civilians or family members who are interested in exploring their own stories. And this is happening the same weekend of the world premiere. The world premiere is July 10th. The workshop is July 11th and 12th, and it's going to take place at the New York State Military Museum.
And we will talk in great detail about the premiere.
Sure, but the workshop itself is led by Brian and another fantastic author, Matt Gallagher, whose memoir Kaboom is also a fantastic book. It hasn't yet been turned into an opera, but the two of them are going to be doing this workshop. As I said, it is free, and information about that is on our website at operasaratoga.org.
Okay, excellent. Before we go too far along, I think we've gotten the picture that Lake George Opera
Opera Saratoga
came down to be Lake George Opera came down to be and now is Opera Saratoga. I think we understand that now, and it's been in existence since 1962, and you're at the Spa Summer Theater. I don't know enough about you, and I don't think our audience knows enough about you, because I know that some of these new things that are happening came about not just from you, but your meetings and your interaction with all of the folks who form Opera Saratoga. But I understand that you're quite a driving force in terms of reaching out and becoming a part of a community. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you came to be here.
Well, my original studies were as a singer. I went to the University of Ottawa in Canada, and I was studying voice and musicology. I was a tenor. I still am a tenor, now mostly in the shower. But and at the same time, I was studying dance and had the opportunity when I was 20 to study at the Joffrey Ballet in New York City. So when I was 20, I did go down to Joffrey. It was supposed to be for just a summer, or so I told my parents. I think my parents realized that once I got to New York City, it wasn't going to be just a summer.
Coming home.
And I didn't go. I didn't come home. It was for much longer than a summer. It was for over 25 years. But I had a fantastic time at the Joffrey for 3 years, and then I continued to dance professionally for a number of years. Was with the apprentice company of Boston Ballet, and then went to Ballet West in Utah and Ballet Met in Columbus. But when I was dancing, I was doing a lot of choreography. For me, dance was always about an expression of music. I mean, music has been the driver for me always, whether it was in dance or opera or anything theatrical. It's always been about music for me. And I had the opportunity to choreograph some operas because of my background, of course. And I was choreographing a production of Carmen and doing some assisting for the director, and it was actually the fight scene in Carmen between Escamillo and Don Jose, and the singers were saying to me, "You really are good at this. Like, you might want to consider this directing thing." And I thought, actually, I really enjoy this more than the singing, more than the performing, because I had when I stopped dancing, I had gone back to singing, and I was working with a voice teacher in New York and doing some young artist programs and things like that. But I found it much more enjoyable to be helping other people find their way in pieces, and it was just a more exciting way to express the music for me. So I went back to school to NYU and did a directing degree, and started assisting a number of really wonderful directors. One of my most important mentors was Rhoda Levine, who was a director in New York City Opera for many years, and at Glimmerglass, and that's where I really got my start, was at Glimmerglass in New York City Opera. And then
so your roots are very good in opera. They're very,
I've had some really great people. I've had some. I've been very fortunate to have some really fantastic mentors as well. I think that's crucial to anyone in the field. It's also why we do a lot of mentorship at Opera Saratoga. At the same time I was getting into directing, I was finding a real love for contemporary opera, and I knew that I had an interest in doing something in the sort of realm of developing new work, and I decided to go back to school and do my master's in arts administration because I wanted to consider something on a management side. And so I did my master's at NYU in arts administration. And the year I graduated, which was 2005, I founded American Lyric Theater, ALT, in New York City. And it's a company that I still run concurrent with my responsibilities here at Opera Saratoga.
You're a busy man.
I'm busy. I go back and forth a fair amount. I have a wonderful person, a wonderful manager in New York who holds down the fort when I'm not there, and an incredible faculty there. The ALT is not a producing company, so I should clarify. ALT does not produce opera, but what ALT does is it is an organization that's dedicated to the mentorship of emerging operatic writers and the development of their work. So ALT has the only full-time program in the country for the training of opera composers and librettists. And it's a free program, highly competitive, that we take writers in from around the country. And so writers come into the program, and then select writers who have been through our mentorship are commissioned to write new works.
How exciting.
It is
very
rewarding and very exciting work. And the works that are developed at ALT then go out into the world elsewhere. We partner with other professional opera companies for the production of those works. And so ALT has partnered with Opera Theater of St. Louis. We did a world premiere with them called The Golden Ticket, which is based on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Fantastic piece.
Great.
That piece then went to the Wexford Festival in Ireland and then to Atlanta Opera. We did a fantastic project based on two Poe short stories called the Poe Project, and that went to Fargo Opera.
This is so exciting.
Yeah, and then now going to Fort Worth. And when I was offered the position here in Saratoga, we had a project in the pipeline which really seemed like the perfect fit for Opera Saratoga, both because of the size of our theater. It's an intimate space, only 500 seats.
Yes, it's, I think, perfect.
It's
perfect.
A great size for this piece. The topicality of the subject matter, as we were discussing, the fact that the New York State Military Museum is in Saratoga Springs, and very coincidentally, the librettist for The Long Walk, Stephanie Fleischman, is a faculty member at Skidmore. So this kind of perfect storm of
All the
opportunities.
stars aligned.
Yeah, they really did, and it's really a very special piece. I think, as I was saying, Jeremy Howard Beck, the composer, is, I really believe, one of the most important young composers today, and I'm really thrilled to have the privilege to present this world premiere and to share it with our community. I think it's going to be something very special.
That's just amazing, and we are so fortunate that all of those stars aligned. Since we are right at one of your operas for this season, let's back up and begin with your Cinderella production and talk about all three of the amazing opportunities we'll have. Because they're so varied. You're reaching into so many different audiences. This season is so exciting.
I think you really hit the nail on the head, because there is not one audience for opera, and there's not one kind of opera. The repertoire is so diverse, and I think certainly people who are already opera attendees, they know there's a lot of variety in opera, and people have their favorites. But the stereotypical idea of what opera is, I think, is really being crushed. That as people see how much diversity is out there. So we're always going to do a classic beloved piece. We're certainly not going to ever forsake that. It's an important part of the repertoire.
Of course.
And this year that piece is Rossini's Cinderella, which is La Cenerentola. It's a wonderful take on the Cinderella fairy tale. It is a piece that has extraordinarily virtuosic singing, and I've brought a cast together literally from around the globe. Our Angelina, which is what Cinderella's name in the opera, is Sandra Peaks Eddy, principal artist from the Met. Andrew Owens, who is an American tenor who's been singing mostly in Vienna, will be making his American debut as the prince, and it's really an extraordinary group. And Gary Thorwedo, who I had worked with at New York City Opera, but is a guest conductor at the New York Philharmonic and Seattle Opera, will be joining us to lead this production.
How incredibly exciting.
Oh, and I'm directing that one. So.
Oh, and you're directing.
Yes,
oh,
I'm
and
directing
by
that.
the way, I'm
and by the way,
that.
and so of course, because I'm directing it, I said, well, I want to work with this singer and this singer. It's really an amazing group. And we start rehearsals for Cenerentola on Monday, in a week yesterday.
And when does that open?
Opens July 2nd.
Okay, July 2nd. So we want to start getting some of these things on our calendar.
Absolutely.
And this sounds like one that's absolutely perfect for family opera attendance and maybe introduction of children.
It's great. No, it isn't Italian, but there are super titles, so the text is translated above the stage. It's about 2.5 hours long, so
older children.
Older children, not really young. I would say that around 10 and over is a good starting point, unless your kids are really patient or will have a good attention span.
Right.
But the music is very bubbly and catchy, and it just grabs your attention immediately. And we have 5 performances, 3 of which are matinees, and that's very intentional. And I always recommend, for younger children to try the matinees, because even kids with the best attention span, it gets a little late in the evening. So,
exactly. And be sure you talk through the story a little bit beforehand.
Yeah.
Right?
But the good thing about Cinderella is, kids know the story
Everybody
of Cinderella.
knows it.
Now, I should say, this Cinderella, there's actually no slipper. There was censorship issues at the time where a naked foot could not be shown on stage.
Really?
It's too risque,
Really? How interesting.
And so there's a different mechanism for the identification of Cinderella without giving away too many secrets. And the fairy godmother in this version is actually the prince's tutor, Alidoro. So he sort of serves as a fairy godfather or guardian angel type of figure. But the basic mechanics are all the same. We still have 2 very obnoxious stepsisters who make Cinderella's life miserable. She still falls in love with the prince, and it's still a happily ever after ending. So.
Oh, you can't ask for more. You can't ask for more with Cinderella. And then we move on to something
very unique for us. Dido and Aeneas is the first Baroque opera that the company has ever produced. I was actually shocked to find out we've never done a Baroque opera before. It is a piece by Purcell, often called the first English opera. And it is a 17th century piece that was premiered in the courtyard of a girls' school. And so when I was thinking about this, the actual genesis for this piece wasn't that I wanted to do a Baroque opera, but because of my dance background and because I discovered when I moved here that the National Museum of Dance is in Saratoga Springs,
up the road.
And that Saratoga has a huge dance community with the summer residency of New York City Ballet at SPAC, I thought, wow, there's a huge repertoire of opera that incorporates dance, not just sort of peripherally, but that really where dance is an integral part of the storytelling. And a lot of companies don't do those pieces because to do them is more complicated.
Because of the dance.
Yeah, it's more expensive. You have to bring in dancers, choreographers, and I thought, well, this is something that we could do really well, and that we could really, carve a niche out for ourselves, because it's something that's just really syncs up with what Saratoga Springs is all about. And when I visited the dance museum and saw they have this beautiful courtyard in the back where a lot of people rent for weddings or special events, and I started thinking about Dido, which has been done by a number of different choreographers in the past and has a lot of dance music in it. I thought, well, what if we actually build an outdoor stage in this courtyard and do it under the stars? And that's exactly what we're doing.
Oh my goodness!
It's going to be something.
What a magical night!
It's going to be quite beautiful.
Magical night.
So I've invited Carol Armitage to choreograph and direct this, and Carol has the most extraordinary background. She is a dancer and choreographer who originally worked with Balanchine and Merce Cunningham. She has her own company in New York called Armitage Gone Dance, and she's bringing up 5 of her dancers to be in the production. But she is choreographed for every ballet company I can think of. She's right now actually at Teatro San Carlo in Naples doing an opera production. She's coming to us from Teatro San Carlo. I mean, it's so
more
exciting.
Could you possibly ask?
She choreographed Hair on Broadway. She's done shows for Cirque du Soleil. For pop music lovers, she choreographed Madonna's Vogue video and videos for Michael Jackson. So, I mean, she's this eclectic, extraordinary choreographer and director, and her vision for the production is so exciting.
It's magical.
She's bringing a very frequent collaborator of hers to design the costumes, Peter Spiliopoulos, who's actually the head of Donna Karan in New York City. So it's really going to be unlike anything we've ever done before.
This is so incredibly amazing.
Yeah. So 4 performances, opening July 6th, and a lot of people say, well, what if it rains?
Of course.
And of course, I'm like hovering at the computer, looking at the weather, looking at the Farmer's Almanac, and we have rain dates for the performances. So for every performance, there are 2 rain dates. And, it is something we have to plan contingency for, but the orchestra, the singers, all the audience are outdoors. It's not covered because if it's covered, it's no longer under the stars.
And everything is right all there.
It's all here, yeah. And the courtyard, it's sort of surrounded by the trees and these buildings, so it kind of creates a natural acoustic shell.
Yes.
It's going to be a really special experience.
Magical.
And,
very,
something
very
unlike
magical.
Anything we've ever done before.
I know that we've had astonishing artists in the past in the Capital Region, but this just sounds like a complete showstopper of everything.
It is.
You've managed to pull something quite amazing together.
Well, we're excited excited. And I should mention the woman we have singing Dido is Jennifer Johnson-Cano. Jennifer, another Met artist who, if you're a frequent attendee at the Met broadcast, she sang Nikolaus in Tales of Hoffmann at the Met this year. She's sung in Carmen. She did Hansel and Gretel this year at the Met. So another really phenomenal singer.
I think I saw her there.
Yeah, and making her debut as Dido with the company this year.
Amazing. I'm going to move on, although I could talk about that opera and Cinderella forever, but I do want to spend a little bit more time on The Long Walk.
Great.
And can you explain once again to us just, I think it's wonderful that this contemporary opera is going to deal with the subject matter that it is going to deal with. And
well, the story of a soldier returning from war is timeless. We can look back to Monteverdi's The Return of Ulysses, and it is a timeless story. The context continues to change. But there are a number of operas that have dealt with this thematically, a number of plays, books, poetry. It's a theme that gets explored in art in many different ways. And the particular relevance now is that we have this, enormous number of men and women coming back from service and reintegrating with their families, and dealing with a world that's changed in their eyes. Brian, in his book, The Long Walk, it calls what he's dealing with the crazy, with a capital C. At some point, he thinks it's PTSD. It's revealed to be something different through the course of the opera, but it's something very significant that changes his life.
Absolutely.
And changes the life of his wife and his children. And this piece is, I've been involved in the development of a number of new pieces through what I do at ALT. This is just one of the most extraordinary things I've ever been involved with. And I'm not just saying that to sell tickets. It truly is. It is an unbelievably powerful piece. It's also incredibly beautiful. As I was saying, Jeremy's music, he's able to get to the heart and soul in a way that is truly extraordinary and unique. He also has written this piece for a chamber orchestra that has a very unusual composition of instruments. So in addition to sort of more traditional strings and brass and a few woodwinds, there are 2 electric guitars in the orchestra. And this sort of contrasting play of the electric guitars against the more acoustic instruments and the classically trained singing, it creates something really exciting and very visceral for the audience.
it sounds perfect for what the subject matter is going to be about. That's just incredible. I'm very eager to come and be part of that. Give us quickly, if you will, just the dates, if you can do that, of the three major operas, and then just spend 2 minutes if you can. I know there's a before the show and after the show, and I thought the audience might like to hear a little bit about that.
So Cinderella, La Cenerentola opens on Thursday, July 2nd. Dido and Aeneas opens on July 6th, and The Long Walk opens on July 10th, Friday, July 10th. The full schedule of performances is available on our website at operasaratoga.org.
And that will be on our end of the program.
Great.
So before the show and after the show, very quickly.
So before the show, for our two performances at the two productions at the Spa Little Theater, The Long Walk and Cenerentola, we will have an artist talk called Behind the Spotlight, and that will be a discussion that I will lead before every performance with some of the artists involved with the production. And so it will be, when it's The Long Walk, Brian Kastner, the author of the book, will be at some of these conversations. It may be the director, the conductor, Jeremy and Stephanie, the composer and librettist, will be there. Opportunity to sort of dive into the pieces a little bit before we see them.
Exciting.
Same with Cenerentola. It'll be with some of the creative team. We have a dramaturg will be visiting, Corey Ellison. Will be part of some of these discussions as well. And then at the National Museum of Dance, it's a little bit different. The tickets to the production of Dido include admission to the National Museum of Dance, and if you haven't been to the National Museum of Dance,
it's wonderful.
It's wonderful, and here's an opportunity to see a great opera and see a great museum all at the same time. The museum is actually mounting a special exhibition on Carol's collaboration with different artists and designers as one of the things that's going to be on display. So the admission to the museum, you can get into the museum starting at 7 o'clock with your ticket, and then the performances are all at 8:15 in the evening. Dido is a fairly short opera. I should say it's a little over an hour with no intermission. combination. So it's sort of this combined experience of going to the museum and then going out into the courtyard for the performances.
And then after the show, there's some conversation also available?
It's more drinking than conversation. No, or eating.
Well, all right.
I'm teasing. No, there's conversation, but with the artists. So after the performances at the Spa Little Theater, if you've ever been to our theater, on the back side of the theater is an arcade looking over a really beautiful reflecting pool. And it's a covered arcade, and after every show, there'll be a cash bar and opportunity to meet all the cast. So all the performers will come out, and you'll have a chance to chat with them and to socialize and just sort of continue the experience. For me, going to a performance is much more than sitting in a dark room for 2.5 hours.
Yes,
it is the experience that leads up to it, and it's the experience that's after it.
Right.
And so, especially in Saratoga Springs, it's such a beautiful location. We want to
take advantage of all of it.
Exactly, and make the experience as thorough and all-encompassing as possible. Yeah.
That's a part of being in the community, being with the community.
Absolutely.
I think we are so fortunate to have Larry Edelson here with us and up in Saratoga. And I know I look forward to seeing all of these, and before and after, because that's what a community is all about. I'm very glad you're here. I'm very glad that Opera Saratoga has found such a wonderful home and such a wonderful director, and I look forward to meeting all of you at Opera Saratoga at one, if not all, of these performances. Take care. Come back with us again.